Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk. The Eagles heading into week 3 of the preseason. We're going to talk about their joint practice today with the Miami Dolphins, what the work they put in last week with the Cleveland Browns. We're also going to get into our top 10 quarterback list heading into the 2022 season. Got a lot of fun going on with that, Scotty, so can't wait to get into that. And then we'll wrap up the episode by going over our most loved and hated moves across the offseason in terms of offseason acquisitions this season. We'll be back in 50 seconds.
They keep it on the ground, and Sanders is still going in Steelers territory. The Pittsburgh native, Miles Sanders, takes it all the way with his mom. And steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs, sideline, touchdown, unbelievable. Vikings win it.
What is going on, everybody? As I said, this is NFL Turf Talk, streaming to you guys on DSM Media's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook channels. If you're new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're on the page, click the link tree in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. Specifically, guys, the YouTube channel. If you want to be a part of future giveaways that we're going to be having and running soon through Team DSM, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, like this video. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my right, my man Scotty. Check him out on Twitter @ScottyDrown. Apologies if my Wi-Fi is a little delayed at the moment, a little going bonkers. I can see the signal up. Good. Glad to hear it. Scotty, what's going on, brother?
Hate those Wi-Fi signals, man. I'm praying I don't discover any.
I got the one right now. I got 1 bar, so if my face is
good.
Behind,
maybe it's because we're not live, but you're good, my man. So no, I'm doing well. I'm sure you heard today good news across the world. Student loan forgiveness.
I did see that. I did see that.
That
some parameters to it, some parameters, whether like what you make at the moment income wise and how much you spent, like, or how much you had out in loans or whatever the case may be. But hey, man,
go in the right direction, I suppose.
Yeah. For our man Phil here at DSM, he's probably a little on the annoyed side after already paying back his loans. But then, people our age are probably a little happy about that. But anywho, let's get into some Birds talk, man, because we're quickly approaching regular season. Actually, I shouldn't say quickly. We're not that far away anymore, but this month of August has really drug along, man. Like, I feel like we're in week 5 of preseason and we're not. We're only through 2 weeks, but that's where I want to start. Before we get into today's joint practice, by the way, guys, I'm saying today's because we are pre-recording this on Wednesday night. This will be released Sunday, 10 a.m. But before we get into the Dolphins joint practice, I want to talk about the Browns joint practice where the Eagles had a lot of success on both days last year. Obviously had success in Cleveland on Sunday afternoon, winning the game 21-20. Starters didn't see the field. It was a monsoon in Cleveland before the game started, so bad field conditions. Thanks, Nick Sirianni, for not forcing your hand, for not throwing Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or any of the number ones out there in those conditions. The Browns did not either. But, Scotty, if thinking back, because we're going on 4 or 5 days now, what really stuck out to you? What positives and or negatives do you have off the top of your mind from either the preseason game as a whole or the joint practices with the Browns?
Yeah, I think what stuck out to me, honestly, was just the way, Devontae, AJ, Goddard, they're just, getting hyped up so much this preseason training camp sessions. And, a lot of the reports were just saying that those 3 specifically were making plays everywhere. And I believe it. I saw some videos of Devontae Smith. I'm happy to see him back. He looks great. A.J. Brown has looked great this entire offseason. Dallas Goedert has looked great this entire offseason. But then you take it a step further with the offensive line. They were able to have success. You saw Jordan Mailata was being matched up with Myles Garrett a lot. He was asking for that. He wants that experience. And we talked about Myles Garrett earlier in the offseason. He's, I think he was my
top
first
two,
top edge rusher. You're number 2 pass rusher, regardless. Top 2 pass rusher there. And Jordan Mailata just wants to soak it all in and learn how to defend or block a guy like that. And you gotta love that initiative. So those are my main takeaways. And then overall, the starters performed so well. Yes, the field was tore up. Sirianni said he wasn't playing those guys anyways because he liked what he saw in the joint practices. He saw enough in those to not put those guys out there regardless. And I don't want to see those guys. Just like you said, I do not want to see those guys out there at all. But those were my main takeaways so far. I'm not putting too much into the Browns practice. I know a lot of people said the Eagles dominated that, and we'll talk about this Dolphins practice as well. But nonetheless, what are your thoughts, my man?
Well, it's funny because you do get more out of joint practices than you are going to in a possession or two of a preseason game, right? So I'm glad. It's always nice to hear when the Eagles find success on either side of the ball in these joint practices. But going back to what you mentioned against the Browns have a very good defense. Yeah. And in those joint practices, I'm 90% sure. I didn't see every report and every one-on-one matchup, but it was mostly their ones. I don't think they're too hindered or beat up on the injured list on the defensive side of the ball.
They were missing Denzel Ward. That was
the okay.
Yeah, CB1, but
okay. So, but nonetheless, you hear the positives come out about Devontae Smith. You hear the positives come out about A.J. Brown. And not only the fact that Jalen Hurts is being able to connect with those two downfield, hearing how Devontae Smith, in terms of his footwork, in terms of his speed, in terms of his route running, has been so far this offseason.
Yeah.
Just picturing what those two, how complementary those two are going to be across from each other on the field, I can't wait for. And so it was very, very exciting to just hear and see reports and see tape come out of them winning damn near every one-on-one battle they had on the outside. And that's why, like, we talk about how with Bradbury and Slay all offseason, it's only going to make all 4 of those guys better. Smith, Brown, Bradbury, Slay, working together, going against each other in practice, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens in these joint practices. You're going on there against their ones, and not even in the team drills, not 7-on-7, not 11-on-11. I'm talking one-on-one, mano y mano. And we'll get to the Browns practice today because there's a lot of energy on social media, specifically our TikTok account, Scotty, about a highlight or two from the practice today. But yes, seeing all that stuff out of the wide receiver room was very nice to hear. And the defense seemed like they had a good 2 days there as well. Again, I know it's Jacoby Brissett, it's not Deshaun Watson, and what that offense technically is going to look like later on in the year. But this is what they got to roll with for the first 11 weeks now. So that's their ones. Eagles did well. I just want to hit on the preseason game last week just for a quick second because it's a little past the updated news. But
I just wanted to say before you move on to the preseason game, just to kind of finish off that point on Smith and AJ. There's been times you mentioned some of the reports about Devontae Smith. There's been times where the way these reporters are wording the way Devontae Smith has improved, the signs that he's showing, makes you think sometimes is like Devontae Smith wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I know.
Like, have we underestimated Devontae Smith? That's a conversation for a whole other day. But just wanted to throw that in there at the end. But go ahead on your thoughts on the preseason.
Well, no, you're definitely going to find out this year just how talented Devontae Smith was last year. You saw glimpses of it last year. Yeah. But the problem was the offense, they were run heavy. He was the only true number 1 option. He saw double teams. He saw opposing CB1s. Hurts had issues getting in the ball, et cetera, et cetera. You're really going to find out just how talented or special this kid is this year with everything included around him, the progression of Jalen, everything like that. So I am really excited with you to see the development of Devontae Smith. But getting to the preseason game, I want to stick with the wide receiver room because there were some guys making some plays in that preseason game, Scotty, and now it opens up a whole other can of worms within this fan base. And if I'm being honest, all right, here's how I look at this wide receiver room. You have 4. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal. I know some people don't consider Zach Pascal a lock. I promise you, Zach Pascal is a 110% a lock to make this roster and get playing time.
Bro, he's like a heightened version of like Greg Ward. He just seems like a guy that's always in the perfect spot, man.
Right. But and he's a Sirianni guy. He blocks well. So he already does things that the head coach once instilled in his game plan and his offense. And like, he's talented. Like, let's be honest. Like, I don't understand people saying he's not a lock. Zach Pascal has more talent than anybody else below him in this depth chart. And I'm not even sold that Quez Watkins is should be ahead of him on the depth chart. However,
just depends where you are on the field. In that
exactly.
Case, I agree with you there.
However, Jalen Reagor, you would have to assume for the time being will be on the team unless he's traded. I agree with our listener George D. I can't see him I can't see Howie cutting him. You have to pay to release him at this point. You're losing, you're eating money to cut Jalen Reagor. I don't see that happening unless they can trade him. So you're really talking 5 at this point. Let's say they keep 6. All right, well, who was the storyline in the beginning of camp? Britton Covey, right? Guy was returning punts. Got this little hand injury now. Who knows what happens there? Then all of a sudden this past weekend, you have this man, Deon Cain, making plays. And now there's a legitimate shot that he could make this 53-man because they're not sure. Maybe he can't slip onto the practice squad, right? But then you got the other one in Devin Allen. That one I laugh at a little bit more. Guys, I get the speed, get the track star, the Olympics. It's cool. So I saw the touchdown. I get it. But Scotty, man, Eagles Twitter can be hell. Are you on Eagles Facebook?
Hell no.
I'm in a couple groups, right? I'm in a couple groups. I don't pay attention to them, but like guys, I'm hardly ever on Facebook unless it's the shared DSM stuff out. But when I scroll here and there, I see some stuff. And so he catches this 60-yard, 65-yard touchdown pass, shows off the speed, right? There were people in these Facebook groups, like Eagles fans, with the video and commenting or reposting the video, how I can't wait to see his speed utilized between Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, as if Devin Allen is going to be the slot corner or the slot wide receiver, on this Eagles offense.
This is where we're at.
I had to share this. I just share that little fun fact with you. As if wide receiver 8 or 9 right now in training camp is going to be the slot receiver come week 1 or something. And that's where I just need everybody to calm down. Listen, Deon Cain,
he's making the team before Devin Allen.
Period. Right. But people are already so high on him, dude.
Yeah, listen, I feel that. He can do more than a Devin Allen, though. Like,
no, 100%. 100 for sure.
Is he even going to make the team?
For sure. But like this whole thing now where people are clamoring that he needs to make the roster. Well, guess what, Scotty? Even if he makes the roster as wide receiver 6, I guarantee once things go sour for 30 seconds, well, no one can get open. Well, put the Cain kid in. Are we joking, guys? Like, are we joking? Like so this is my thing with preseason and training camp. It's going on far too long for me. I'm not anti Britton Covey or Deon Cain. I'm cool with them making the squad. If they can help, they can help. But I can't stand the overreaction to a nice grab in a preseason game. We didn't learn with Paul Turner. We didn't learn with year after year after year of Paul Turner. And it's so many others where like guys this fan base just catches on.
Yeah, they like these weird guys, man. Because like I agree. I put out the clip of Devin Allen scoring the touchdown, blew up. Devin Allen, woo! You know what I mean? Like I understand it. He's an Olympic, hurdler. That's fun.
The speed's real. The speed is real. Exactly.
The speed is real. So is Quez's speed, right?
Right. So is Tyreek's speed. But guess what else those two can do?
Like
run routes.
I don't know. I don't know.
But, so that was my tidbit off of the preseason game, was all the overreaction to the wide receiver room.
Well, let me ask you this, just to kind of follow along with the trend
Yeah.
here as far as like the preseason game. When you're thinking about keeping 6 wide receivers, where do you look at that versus keeping 4 running backs? Which just,
Oof.
to kind of piggyback off your
Yeah.
point in that preseason game, we watched Boston Scott control a drive. He looked wiped at the end of that drive, man. But he
gave
did
him
his
the ball
thing.
92
They
times.
gave him the ball like 100 times, man. They were running him into the dirt, bro. And then Kenneth Gainwell follows up with another nice drive. He's the main back in that drive, and they both ended up in touchdowns. But I don't know. There's part of me that always, at this point, Miles has a hamstring injury, right? We've been here before.
I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends.
So, do you keep a 4th running back? Do you have to? You have to, right? Is it even between those 2 groups?
Yeah, I hear you, man. No, because I think you can stash a Huntley on the practice squad.
Yeah, that's true.
And on game day, if Sanders is out or something's up, you can pull him up, right, for the day.
Yeah.
But, it's this whole Miles Sanders. I'll take it a step further. So, no, I would not keep 4. I would stash him on the practice squad. But I do want to talk about this room as a whole and talk about rumors that are kind of circulating terms of Kareem Hunt trade with the Browns. Kenyon Drake was just released by the Las Vegas Raiders, and there could be mutual interest there. I'm good with either. One, you don't have to give anything up for. One, you do. Kareem Hunt's the better talent. We'll get into all that. But I want to talk to you again about this fan base who, guys, I love you. I love you too. I'm part of it. However, I get running backs are a dime a dozen. Really. And especially behind this offensive line.
Yeah.
Plug anybody behind that offense. You could plug Jordan Howard behind that offensive line last year and find success. Boston Scott had success. I get it. But to me, there's a difference. And I know they were the number 1 rushing attack. So it's hard to think like they can go higher than the top of the mountain where they were last year. To me, I'm interested in even another gear where you have this offensive line and this rushing attack with a guy as talented as a Kareem Hunt. I think we're shortchanging how talented Kareem Hunt is as a running back and how he can do multiple things out of the backfield and his physicality. And I'm being honest with you. I don't trust Miles Sanders to stay healthy. He's already not healthy. And an injury like a hamstring can linger in a running back. And it will. I promise it will. And I'm sorry. I'm not comfortable like some of the rest of this fan base is with Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell as your 2 backs. I get it. They had to do it last year, and it was those 2
for a game
and
at
Jordan
a time,
Howard.
right?
But I'm not comfortable with it, man. They're too similar. They're smaller backs that have some speed and can catch the ball at the backfield. They run north and south, but neither of them are 3-down backs. And I don't want to go consistent drive after consistent drive with one or the other. Yeah. Like I like a back and then like Kenny G spelling them here and there. Yeah. That's what I want within this offense. And this fan base sees what Boston Scott did on one drive against the 2s on the Browns. And all you see is Boston Scott shut up any rumor that we need Kareem Hunt. Guys, are we serious?
They're stupid. Oh
I'm not saying the Eagles. Listen, let me rephrase this. The Eagles don't need Kareem Hunt. No. They'll be okay if they have to roll with what they have. However, I think this offense that is already going to be explosive can reach a higher gear with a guy like Kareem Hunt in the backfield.
Agreed.
So, yes, I would trade for Kareem Hunt.
And obviously it depends on what they want for him. Like, we know that. Like, that's,
not giving up a second, not giving up a third. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's in every deal. It depends on what you have to give up to get that person. Like, duh, we know that. It's not about that. It's, would you want this addition to your team? And that's the simple question. Yes, I would like that addition. He would be the most complete back on this roster, even if Miles Sanders was on the roster.
How did Jay Ajayi help out the year we
won Super Bowl, man? like that's
we had LeGarrette Blount. He was a workhorse. Corey Clement was the change of pace spell guy, and we had a nice rushing attack. But guess what? When you can add to an already good room to make it better, I'm not opposed to that because we're comfortable with what we have. Yeah, now, let me say this. I'm not giving up a second, a third. I probably wouldn't even give up. I wouldn't give up a fourth for Kareem. You shouldn't have the market's not that big or high for a running back, especially a guy who's a backup in Cleveland at the moment and wants out. It won't be a fourth. But dude, like I'm going to take a little jab at George T. I'm sure he'll be seeing this. So, yesterday on Faithful, he told me he wouldn't give up a sixth for Kareem Hunt. And I think that's absolutely wild. Like if you value a 6th round draft pick that high, I think that's a little absurd.
Is it? See, I get the perspectives from you don't want to mess with team chemistry. I get that part. If you don't want Kareem Hunt for his off the field trouble, sure, that's fine. That's your prerogative.
He mend those fences like
they're allowed to have that take, in my opinion. You can have that stance. But I'm with you. I think everybody deserves second chances. I think he's
worked towards it, I think.
You're letting Deshaun Watson back into the league. Let's move on, right? Like, let's talk about this league if we want. If we want to talk about that as a whole, right?
We're talking about Michael Vick. He played here. Michael Vick did his time. Now, Kareem Hunt didn't. Yeah, like Kareem, if serve my memory, Kareem Hunt didn't serve time.
I don't think he went to jail, but
Kareem Hunt, I'm pretty sure, has tried to make up for what happened.
If that's the argument, though, then so be it. Leave it at that. Don't come at us and try to say that it's because he won't make this team better. He's a better.
Or say he's not worth a 6th round draft pick.
He's a better pass catcher than anybody on the team. He is a better power back than anybody on the team.
Scotty, if Miles Sanders was healthy, he would come in here and be the best running back in the entire room by a wide margin. Like that's what people keep saying. They're taking this move, and again, it's too
people
close to the season.
People were saying Josh Jacobs isn't better than Miles Sanders. He's better than Miles Sanders. He is.
Dude, and I think Schefter said on 97.5 today, or he tweeted it, that he hasn't heard of anything between the Browns and the Eagles for Hunt. So wherever these rumors and interest circulating, it's not a lot of smoke right now. It's really just in-house maybe, right? But it's hypothetical. If it was real, people are talking about this potential trade like it's an add-on. Oh, we don't need Kareem Hunt to add on. No, Kareem Hunt would be the running back. What are we getting twisted here?
Yeah.
So anyway, and again, Kenyon Drake would be added to this.
Yeah.
I'll take.
I would still rather have him than Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell, and that is not shade at those guys. They are who they are. We know
they're just not starting caliber.
They're not. They're not three down backs, like you said. They're not starting caliber backs. Sure, a random game in the middle of December against the New York Giants, Boston Scott fucking kills it.
Yeah.
That's one game. You have to be durable as a running back. You have to be sturdy. And I get it. We have never seen much injuries from Boston Scott. I don't want a chance to, right? And, the last thing that I'll say about this running back room and the situation, I think they should add a veteran back somehow. Mm-hmm. And if that involves moving Miles Sanders in a deal, if you had to move Miles Sanders for Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders is on the last year of his contract. We are not going to extend him. Let's be honest. We are not going to extend Miles Sanders. I'm shipping his ass out for Kareem Hunt if that is on the table. I would do it. But aside from that, you look at the people saying, "Oh, they'll be fine with Gainwell and Boston Scott."
Sure, they'll be fine.
Jalen Hurts is going to have to overcompensate,
right? Exactly,
and that's what we don't want.
Right,
is Jalen Hurts having to think about other parts of the game rather than a passing offense? Yes, he can use his legs. We don't need him to overdo that. That's what last season was.
Yeah,
we don't want that.
I agree. We want
running backs to run the ball.
All right, man, let's get into today's joint practice with the Miami Dolphins, and then we'll move on. Getting a little excited about this Birds team. But so today was, we'll say, a down day for the Eagles. It was their first joint practice loss, according to some people, under Nick Sirianni in these 2 off seasons, right? It's funny, people are like keeping record of joint practices. But some highlights that are circling.
In Philadelphia too. We're talking about practice.
I know. We're talking about practice. AJ Brown made a ridiculous one-handed deflection catch down the sideline for a touchdown. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill got the better of Darius Slay in a one-on-one. Where Slay got nicked up, whether he stepped on Hill or rolled his ankle. Something happened on that play. Slay was in and out of practice for the rest of the time. James Bradbury came back to practice today from an injury, but did not participate in 11-on-11s. And Miles Sanders obviously still out of the practice today.
Mhm.
I just kind of want to talk about again this wide receiver matchup, and because our TikTok page is exploding at the moment with that clip of AJ Brown basically saying, like, because his catch is out there, it's on Twitter, it's on social media, but the Tyreek Hill one was circulating big time, right? And it's all Hill burnt Slay. First of all, let's talk about this coverage for anybody that needs a newsflash. It's not a game, it's not whatever. It's one-on-one drills. So find me a corner that's sticking with Tyreek Hill in a one-on-one go route in 99% of the time.
It doesn't have a safety behind them.
Secondly, Slay did that. It was very good coverage until he stepped on the back of Hill's foot. Now, I get it. It doesn't matter if it was a game, it's a touchdown. But like, it was good coverage until he rolled his ankle or stepped on his foot, whatever happened. But people are clowning it, man. Yeah. Meanwhile, AJ Brown's like, all right, like I get it. And I love it, sticking up for your teammates, right? Yeah. Because it's like you want to clown Slay for trying to keep up with the fastest guy in the NFL on a go route. Show us torching you guys as well. And the one clip came out. Apparently, Devontae Smith had his way with Miami, with Xavier Howard and Miami's corners all day. Zach Pascal got open for a couple passes. Quez Watkins had some success. The Eagles wide receivers had success too. But you just see the one clip, and that's kind of, if there's anything that bothers me about the joint practices, Scotty, we talked about how you get more out of them, and it's mano-a-mano. We get this much footage from it, whereas something on national television.
Yeah.
So just all the talk. And by the way, you disgusting, dirty, loser Cowboy fans that are somehow on Twitter, on our TikTok today.
Joke of a fan base, man.
You come crawling out now because something happened towards the Eagles in a negative fashion, and they're trying to compare what happened with Tyreek Hill and Darius Slay today versus Trevon Diggs getting killed on a go route or a double move by an undrafted number 8 wide receiver on their depth chart at the moment in training camp, earlier in the camp. Or how about Trevon Diggs not looking when he was covering Keenan Allen the other day?
Keenan Allen, like it's basketball.
With his hands by his ass. Like, you loser cockroach of a fan base.
That's what they are. They come out.
Crawl back into your hole and go worry about your own corner, who, by the way, is not on the same tier as Darius Slay. And I'll say it again every week for the rest of the year.
It's not close.
That's all I had to get off my chest about this joint practice. I don't care what happened. I don't care if Miami got the better of the Eagles today. I don't care. Whatever. I want the Eagles to get healthy. I don't need Slay rolling his ankle. I need Bradbury back healthy. The offense was fine. The one thing that bothered me is just all this talk about a go route, dude.
So reactionary, man. It is. It's funny, and I get it. You know, it is what it is. But like you said, it's petty to compare Darius Slay versus Tyreek Hill to Trevon Diggs versus third string, fourth string wide receiver. And, you know, it's like you said about the Cowboys fans. Like, where have you been the last couple weeks where you've been getting shit on? So I just speaking whenever you have
cockroaches, bro.
You know, I don't get that. We show our faces no matter what. There's no fair weather here.
I'm here every week, bro. You can come.
That's what I'm saying. Come
right here.
And that's what we're gonna have to start telling those people on TikTok, man. Because I have people telling me that I don't know ball because I consider Darius Slay a top 5 corner, Tyreek Hill a top 5 wide receiver.
Here's the funny part, right? I'd have to go through it. I don't know if I'd have Darius Slay top 5. I don't know, but here's the funny part, Scotty. What's he? 6 or 7? 7 at the word. Like, really? Really? Like, that's what you're going to nitpick at? Like, all right, I said he's top. I'll say he's 5, but really he's 7. Like, you're going to have an issue with that. Tyreek Hill. First of all, Tyreek Hill's top 5.
He's top 5.
Like, and Tyreek Hill ain't 5. He's 6. So let's get that shit.
I'm with you, man. I don't get it. But
you see my face. You know my name. I'm here every week. You hide behind your sport picture Avi and a fake name and troll all you want.
Bro,
your cockroaches. And crawl back into your hole.
You can't comment on a DSM post and tell me I don't know ball and say this and that and then not have a profile picture or even a name.
Right.
Like, come on, that's clownish. And then shout out to the one fan on the TikTok page, man. Love all of you. You come in and you engage with the post.
Thank you, for sure.
It gets it out there further, so I appreciate it. But you're clowning yourself when you tag your friend and say, bro is mad about a practice. I'm not mad about anything. And if I look mad in the video, you're mistaken.
Yeah.
Nobody is mad, bro. The Dolphins have not won anything. And I would say in the last 20 years, they have not won anything ever. That's 100%. Facts. I have no bone to pick with the Dolphins. Go Tua, do your thing. I don't believe in it, but
hey, Tyreek Hill's on my fantasy squad, bro. Like,
Tyreek Hill's on my dynasty squad. I'm with you.
I'm excited. All love to
the
cheetah. All love to the cheetah, but like, come on, come on.
Hey, we'll see how tomorrow goes, though. One practice, right? One practice.
Right. Moving forward into the next segment, that went a little longer than I thought, but that is as expected here on Turf Talk. And we'll get all these segments clipped out and thrown on the YouTube page for you guys, as so you don't have to skip through the entire hour plus long episode. You can go to find exactly what you want in the clip. But Scotty, let's get to, so Matt, my man, all season long, all summer long, I should say, we've done our top 10 list. We've done our top 10 edge rushers. We've done our top 10 tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, and we are wrapping up this list with our top 10 quarterback list. Excuse the crappy slideshow, guys. This was put together in 5 minutes. Just wanted a visual for everybody instead of reading one by one. It can get a little boring. Follow along. So, starting at number 10. This is interesting, man. At number 10, speak of the cockroaches. It pains me a bit, right? And I'm with you. Derek Carr. So I have Dak Prescott. Derek Carr was almost my number 10. But I think there's a tier from 8, 9, 10, and like 11. 8 through 10, 8 through 11, where I think the guys are all kind of very interchangeable in a way. I have high expectations for your number 10. He's who I would have had. He's my honorable mention today if I had one, especially with Davante Adams now. But for what I've seen from Dak, especially last year, like this is how you know you just can't call me a hater. What am I a hater for? Not having him higher? Like really? Seeing him come off that brutal injury last offseason, not have a training camp, and put up the numbers the way he did last year and distribute the ball and, you know, win the division. Like, I hate the Cowboys, but I respect Dak Prescott. And I think I'll give him he's 10. He's fringe 10, but I'm rolling with Dak top 10 because I think he's accomplished a little bit more of Carr. I like the fact in terms of a quarterback perspective, he has the full offseason to heal and kind of have his own training camp this season. So I have Dak number 10 heading into the year.
Yeah. And I'm with you on as far as Dak, you know, in that 9 to, I would even say
11.
Range.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to throw shade at Dak. I hate the Cowboys, obviously. I think Dak's a pretty good dude, so I'm not going to throw shade at him. Coming off the injury, like you said, he was top 5 in a couple different numbers as far as quarterback ratings or quarterback statistics, I should say, metrics. The reason I chose Derek Carr specifically over Dak, so yes, Dak isn't any further up the list either. I think Derek Carr's going to have a better season this year, and it's as simple as that for me. Yeah, you know, I think it's as simple as that. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that, that it's a landslide Derek Carr over Dak. I just like the weapons that Derek Carr has at his disposal. He was 5th in passing yards last year. That was with a Hunter Renfrow, a beat-up Darren Waller, and whoever else he was working with out there.
Deshaun Jackson.
Right. Deshaun Jackson had a stint. Zay Jones. There was a couple different guys I saw out there. But now he has Davante Adams, and that's a game changer. That's his best friend from college. He's going to be able to do some things. And really, the only place where Derek Carr truly struggled last year as a quarterback was capitalizing in the red zone, getting touchdowns. Only had 23 passing touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
He was extremely clutch last year, too.
He was extremely clutch, and that's another factor of Derek Carr compared to even Dak. Derek Carr is clutch in the big moment.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think Dak can increase that touchdown total with a guy like Davante Adams. And then hopefully, I know Darren Waller's been dealing with a little bit of an injury in preseason. Hopefully, that's nothing significant. You get him and Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I think that's a beautiful tandem there. Ultimately, why I'm putting Derek Carr over a Dak Prescott. I think Dak losing Amari Cooper, I think that's going to affect him.
Yeah.
If he comes out and he balls out like he did last year with this roster, kudos to Dak. The credit goes to Dak because as we talked about, and I think I did it in my last NFC East video, but Dak is by far the advantage the Cowboys have in the NFC East.
Yeah.
That is it. That is the only advantage. So if Dak is able to do what he needs to, make the playoffs, win the division with this roster this upcoming season, then kudos to Dak. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback, but I'm going to go with Derek Carr for now.
I think it's interesting, real quick, before we move on to number 9, you pointed out the change and the difference in Derek Carr because of improvements. I'm looking at Dak to see how he can improve because when you lose Amari Cooper, when Michael Gallup's injured to start the season, is CeeDee Lamb a true stud number 1 wide receiver? And then, but the thing in the past was, it's a mixture of kudos to Dak for spreading the ball, but it's also having that much talent where he had 3,000 plus yard wide receivers. Yeah. Now, what do you do with a stud and then a couple guys? So that's what I'm looking for Dak this year. And we will see. Hopefully, for the Eagles' sake, Dak's booted out of my number 10 because the Cowboys aren't succeeding. Moving on to number 9, same pick here. I include him in this little range of quarterbacks with Dak and Derek Carr specifically. These 3 I have all around here. Kyler, obviously, we can all make jokes about who knows about his work ethic and his heart, and he has to have, a written rule in his contract stating how he'll watch film at home, and then they got taken out. All this off-field drama. But nonetheless, Kyler is a top 10 talent in this league. And he's obviously, the comparison is what? Because of the mobility, him and Lamar. Why do I have Lamar out of my top 10? Why do I have Kyler inside my top 10? I like and trust Kyler's arm 100 times more than I trust Lamar's arm.
I think
Kyler has the ability. He's a small quarterback, but he's so shifty and can run. But he's not a run-first QB. He extends plays with his legs and finds receivers downfield. Now, losing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 weeks may hinder his start to 2022, but they bring in Hollywood Brown, and I think Kyler, the dual threat QB he is with the explosive arm, makes him a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on Kyler. Ultimately, I agree with you. I think he is in that tier of like Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, that group of guys. You could easily say, hey, move Kyler back to 11, move Dak up to 10, Derek Carr up to like 9 for me. You could say that, and I wouldn't argue too heavily. But Kyler Murray, I think people are just forgetting how he started the season last year with DeAndre Hopkins. And they've added Zach Ertz. I know DeAndre Hopkins is suspended the first 6 games, I believe.
Yeah.
They got Marquise Hollywood Brown. That was a nice pickup. I think he is better than a Christian Kirk per se. So I like that addition. They brought AJ Green back, so they kept him. So they got some guys there just to get them through that first 6 games. But I think Kyler Murray, he got beat up throughout the season last year. They may have relied a little bit too much on him at the beginning, but I think they have kind of regrounded. He's healthy. He's got the new contract. They don't have all that drama brewing there in Arizona. I think he can play with a clear head this season. As long as he can stay healthy, I think he continues what he was doing early on last season, where the Arizona Cardinals were the number 1 team in the NFC.
Yeah.
So, I think people just forget the success that Kyler was having last season before he got nicked up. And ultimately, the Rams, got on track with Matthew Stafford and started just tearing the league up. But I like what the Cardinals have. I like Kyler Murray, his talent. I agree with you. The arm is there, even for his size and the shiftiness. It makes him a special talent. And I think with him being able to put the drama behind him, because I think that was the only detractor in reality for Kyler Murray, is people picking on him for his stuff off the field and following the Cardinals account and doing all this stuff. Kyler Murray had kind of turned into this villain.
Yeah, man. He had a very hectic offseason, and things just got weird when a grown
put
man,
that behind you.
A professional had that put in his contract. But
I
wholeheartedly agree with you. Kyler is a top 10 talent. Same here. Russ. Now, I think the next couple you can kind of put any which way. This guy I'm excited for this season, especially his change of scenery in Denver. Very young team, very young wide receiving core. And it's in the later segment, he's on one of those lists I have in terms of moves and acquisitions this offseason.
Yeah.
Russ, come on, man. Like who are we kidding that Russ isn't ahead of the two that we already listed?
Yeah.
I think Russ can go anywhere from like 6 to 8 at this point in his career. But he was dragging along a depleted Seahawks offense and team for the last couple of seasons. I know they weren't very good last year. He missed a bunch of time with that thumb surgery. But he gets a very good offensive line, a team that can run the ball, young weapons, a good defense. I'm excited to see what Russ can do. And, dude, he's Russell freaking Wilson.
Russell Wilson, man.
He's number 8 to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on Russell Wilson. And what I would even go, I would take it a step further and even say that based on the bottom half of this list, Russell Wilson might be the quarterback that I'm sleeping on the most.
Yeah, potentially,
because of the potential that he has in this offense. And it's another one of those cases, I think, similar to Kyler Murray last year, where Russell Wilson gets beat up, the Seahawks are having a down year, and everybody forgets how talented Russell Wilson is. You know, all this shit.
Look at the offensive line he's played behind for the last 4 years, 3 years.
4 or 5 years. I mean, it's been bad. And the defense
with no running success. Bad. Yeah. 100%.
After the Legion of what was it? The Legion of Doom. Legion of Doom.
Oh no, Boom.
Was it Boom? I can't remember. I remember oh my God. Now I'm thinking of their secondary, and I can't think Cam Chancellor. That was my dude. Yeah, I loved him. But after those guys, they haven't had a good defense, not even a good or an average defense. They've had a bad defense since then. So I'm not holding any of the Seahawks, lack of success in the last few years on Russ. He's just been playing with a bad team. And now he goes to a good team. We're going to see what he can do. I know you mentioned George earlier. He has them potentially making the Super Bowl. I think that is in the realm of potential for Russell Wilson in this Denver Broncos offense and that team. And from what I've heard, they're going to kind of preserve him with the running game, which I think is a great idea, have him fully healthy for the playoffs. But you have to survive this division. That's the only kicker for the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson.
It is. But in terms of being a top 10 quarterback, dude, like I think people really are forgetting who Russell Wilson is because of some recency bias last season and half the year before that. The injury, the lack of offensive line, the lack of help in Seattle was tremendous. And I mean, like I said, we're talking about Russell freaking Wilson. We're at his peak. Man. He's probably still top 5 or 6 at his peak. I just have to see it. I have him at 8. At number 7, man, a couple similarities in a row here. And I mean, my God, how some people don't even have this man top 10 from lists I've seen. Some people have him at like 10 or 9 behind other guys I don't have on a list. It is absurd. Like I thought Matthew Stafford winning a Super Bowl, regardless of how good the defense was, regardless of Cooper Kupp. I thought Matthew Stafford winning that Super Bowl last year would kind of stop everyone and prevent everyone from acting like he's not a premier talent and arm in this league. You're talking about maybe the biggest arm in this league. And he obviously, everyone's eyes go to Cooper Kupp in the season he had.
You don't get that without
Matthew Stafford was responsible for that, just like he was responsible for Calvin Johnson's record-breaking season in Detroit. So Matthew Stafford, this is another guy that at his peak is top 5 or so. I look at the age, I look at the elbow injury, that worries me a little bit. Super Bowl hangover potentially. I can't put him over some of the youth that I have ahead of him on this list, but I can certainly see it. Matthew Stafford is without a doubt on this list for me, and some people don't have him there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think when you take out age, when you take out longevity, when you take out future and just focus on right now, there's an argument that Matthew Stafford's a top 5 quarterback.
100%.
And, I would take it even further on that aspect. My respect for Matthew Stafford comes from even before and I know it was for you as well. Anybody that knows football and watches football knows that Matthew Stafford is a top 10 talented quarterback. And it's been that way since he was on the Lions. It's not like it started in LA last year. No, last year he was probably a top 5 quarterback. Now we got him at 7. Like you said, we're counting in youth. We're counting in guys' development, getting better. But ultimately, Matthew Stafford was a top 10 quarterback for me. I think I started podcasting 3 years ago.
2020.
My first year, it was his last season with the Lions. I had Matthew Stafford number 6 on my top 10 quarterbacks list. So this guy has been
He's that talented, dude.
He's had it for a while, and I don't understand how people are still sleeping on Matthew Stafford when look at what he did last year. I know he has Cooper Kupp, he had OBJ. All the good quarterbacks have a great weapon. That's not supposed to be a detractor. So, a lot of respect for Matthew Stafford, to say the least. He's one of the most talented and maybe one of the biggest arms in the NFL.
He has everything. Like I said, if you want to talk, one of the biggest arms, if not the biggest arms, in terms of arm strength and deep ball accuracy as well, just in terms of being overall accurate with the football.
Yeah.
His pocket presence, his way to navigate the pocket without escaping the pocket, I love. His toughness. I remember being a younger kid watching him with the Lions, maybe his rookie year or second year, and his collarbone popping out and him going back in the game and scoring a 4th down touchdown to win the game. That's how tough he has everything you want. He's without a doubt capable of being around number 5 on this list.
And Dylan, you just named like the intangibles that he possesses.
Yeah,
he has all the intangibles on top of the talent, because you look at his numbers from last year: 4,886 yards. That was 3rd in the NFL. 41 touchdowns. That was 2nd in the NFL. 63.8 QBR. That was 4th in the NFL. These numbers tell you that he's a top 5 quarterback. People will argue about the interceptions. I think he led the league in interceptions with 17. It happens when you throw the ball that goddamn much. He's a gunslinger.
When you're a risk taker. Yeah.
It happens. 41-17, that's a hell of a ratio regardless.
Right. All right, moving on. Now, this one's interesting, man. This is because here come the 2 young guns, right? So this one goes either way for me. These 2 are like on a tier. You know how I mentioned I have like Kyler, Dak, Carr, all in that little tier there? I think just slightly I have Russ and Stafford next. And then I have these 2. These 2 are incredibly interchangeable because I look at a few things here. Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert hasn't been in the playoffs. Joe Burrow is incredibly talented. So why would if he has the accolade in terms of playoff success and getting to a Super Bowl and almost winning a Super Bowl, he has the toughness coming off of a major injury like that. He has the weapons around him. I've seen everything I need to see from Joe Burrow to know he's on this list.
Yeah.
Why would I not have him above Justin Herbert? Just watching Justin Herbert, the arm strength, the accuracy, everything like that, and then just a projection of where I think he is going to get this year.
Yeah.
I have him a little higher. So I have Joe Burrow 6, not by default, but it's just a little more expectation kind of thing here when it's in terms of Justin Herbert for me.
I think that's fair. You know where I lean with Joe Burrow, and if I went full bias with this list, you never know where Joe Burrow could end up on my top 10. But no, the reason I go Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert is for many of the reasons you already stated: playoff success. And I'll simplify it to this: they're both incredibly talented. Top 4 as far as counting in youth and just talent alone. So the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, those
exactly,
are my top 4 young guys, young guns for the future. Interchangeable, I would imagine. I lean Joe Burrow just because I simply trust him in the bigger moments. That's exactly where I'll leave it. I don't know who's more talented. They both are hell of talents. Joe Burrow seems to have a little bit more of the intangibles, similar to like a Matthew Stafford in my eyes. But we got to give Herbert time to grow at the same time. Joe Burrow is just a maniac, man. He won a national championship in college. He comes to the NFL and goes to the Super Bowl his second season.
That's what I think was so special about Herbert as well, is the fact that if you remember, not last year, 2 seasons ago, his rookie year, he wasn't supposed to start. Yeah. Tyrod Taylor got a shot pre-game, and the doctor punctured his freaking lung, and he got thrown out there and battled with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I think coming into their rookie years, Burrow was the LSU national champion, Joe Cool, #1 pick. He gets the job. Herbert wasn't supposed to start, and he's a premier talent already.
No, that's fair. And
I
don't know. I guess when you put it that way, my mind immediately goes to Joe Burrow beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
That is
and that shit
also
is,
very.
That is like a huge accolade in my head because there was a point in that game where I was like, fuck, I hyped the Bengals all the way up, man. And they were down like 21-3, I think, at one point, and they stormed all the way back. Now, give a little bit of credit where due. I don't want to just give the whole Bengals run to Joe Burrow. That defense played their asses off in the playoffs as well. So give a little bit of credit. But I'm not going to sit here and argue about who's talented out of these two. These guys are incredible.
Let's move on. Here is my number 5. I don't have anything more to say about it, except it's a precursor for Scotty's number 4, because he has Tommy Brady at 5. I have Herbert. Like I said, him and Burrow are very interchangeable for me. These two are the future of the NFL, along with Mahomes and Allen. Obviously, Mahomes and Allen are slightly older than them, but not by a lot. Yeah. And pretty soon, I think they'll both be top 5 at some point of in their career. But Herbert, just in terms of arm talent and deep ball accuracy and arm strength, and the kid's elite, dude. Like, I'm already So I like him at 5, slightly ahead of Burrow. I can't put either of them, because I know where you're going, ahead of the man you have right here. I get the age. I get the concern. This is the freaking GOAT, bro.
That's fair.
And the only reason he's not higher on my list, you'll see where he is coming up, is because of who the top 3 are, and including everything. He's just not as talented as them anyway. We're talking about the freaking GOAT.
We are. And, I'll put respect there. He's my GOAT for sure. He's the best quarterback of all time, the most winning quarterback of all time. Tom Brady, number 5 for me. I'm not going to go full Max Kellerman here. I'm not saying Tom Brady's falling off no damn cliff. I'm not saying that, guys. All I'm saying is that the Bucs are beat the hell up. Tom Brady is 1 year older. He's going through some shit. I heard, I'm not going to get too much into it because I haven't read this full story. I heard he's getting a divorce.
I saw a report on it, but I have no idea.
I don't know how true that is, so I don't want to, go and throw all of that out there. But that's just what I heard. He's going through some personal stuff nonetheless. Offensive line's beat up. Mike Evans beat up. Godwin coming off an injury. I don't like what he has going on around him. I don't like the uncertainty of him retiring, then coming back. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different things that factor in there for me. With that being said, this man was the number 1 quarterback in the NFL last year. Yeah. If you look at the metrics, my man, I'm not throwing shade to Tom Brady. I think the Bucs are just about to have a really weird season. I think it's not going to be very fun for Brady. I think he's going to get beat up a lot behind that beat up offensive line. But we'll see. Every time somebody doubts Brady, we know what he does. Nonetheless, 100%. Looking at the numbers, absolutely had to have him in top 5, and you can argue him to number 1, and there's really no way that you can certainly say that Tom Brady isn't the best quarterback in the league still. And I would agree with you there. But coming in at number 5, I just like what these other guys have ahead of them. I think what they're going to be able to do this season is going to be better than what Brady's going to be able to do. But I will say it feels weird having Brady 5 after the season he had last season. I won't lie to you.
Well, let's move forward. I'm not going to say here. I'll let you do the speaking on why Joe Cool is so high here. Tom's 4 for me. Like I said, it's weird that the GOAT still playing at the highest level is not number 1, considering he's the GOAT, but he's just, in terms of talent at the moment, he's just not top to, like, above the guys I have ahead of him, but he can definitely be in the argument. So that he's just 4 by default. He's in a tier of its own because it's like the 3, GOAT, young kids, rest. Joe Cool, man. Tell me why I should have him higher.
Situation, what he's going to be able to do this season. And I ultimately think at this point, Joe Burrow probably has the same amount of talent as Tom Brady. Doesn't have the experience that comes with Tom Brady, but he has the talent. He's been to the big game already. I think he's going to come out hungry this season, man. Now, as we talk about the weapons, we talk about the situation, I mentioned that. I don't want to factor that in too much because I don't want you to think, I just think the Bengals are better than the Bucs. It's not like that. I think Joe Burrow is just a hell of a talent. I would consider him closer to those top 2 than I would consider him closer to the bottom of this top 10 list. So that's kind of just where I'm at. I would group Joe Burrow in with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. That's where I'm at with Joe Burrow. I think he's that level. I would have him obviously over Justin Herbert. And I was thoroughly impressed with what he did last year. Just the stones, man. And a lot of what he does is similar to Tom Brady, staying in the pocket. He's slow. He doesn't, you don't want to see Joe Burrow going out and running too much outside of the pocket. So he has a lot of the same characteristics as Tom Brady. But once again, I'm not going to sit here and argue to a death match that Joe Burrow is better than Tom Brady. I like Joe Burrow more than Tom Brady this upcoming season.
I like it. At number 3, we defer here. So this is interesting at 3-2. I see all the hype and all the noise surrounding Josh Allen this year. And I get it. He's top 3. He's 3. It's not a slight to the kid.
It's not a slight. It's Aaron Rodgers.
I just can't do it. Like people have Josh Allen 1 heading in this year, and I can't get behind that yet either. Not saying he can't reach it, but losing Brian Daboll is definitely an effect, right? And in terms of just pure talent, I think my top 2 and who you have to the right, like I just think they're the cream of the crop. Like Aaron, put it this way, Tom Brady's my GOAT, but Aaron Rodgers is probably the most talented quarterback I've ever seen throw a football at this level. Like I think he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen
in our lifetime.
And then Mahomes comes on the scene, and he does things Rodgers 2.0, but takes it a step further.
Yeah.
So I just can't put Allen ahead of either of those two yet. Not saying he can't get there, but I just don't think he's a more talented quarterback than Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'll tell you what, his situation's is better than either of them, or at least Rodgers this year in terms of weapons and help around him. But in terms of quarterback talent, I don't think he's better than Rodgers right now.
I get that. I'm not going to sit here and say he's more talented. I won't go that far to say that. Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVP. I'm going to give him credit where it's due. Number 3, I hate to say out of default. I really do hate to say out of default. I love what these other 2 quarterbacks ahead of him are going to be able to do this season. And while I don't think Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's going to fall off by any marks. I think he's still going to end up a top 5 quarterback after this season. It's going to be rough with that receiving group. I know it's Aaron Rodgers. I know somehow he'll turn somebody into.
Oh, you're going to learn a lot. Like if we haven't learned enough about Aaron Rodgers already, you're going to learn a ton.
This year. So I guess when I was looking at Josh Allen, and I'll be completely honest with you, and it'll kind of give it away. I guess we can kind of just move through maybe to number 2 at least.
Yeah. It's the same thing, just reversed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when it comes to Josh Allen, I'm thinking about the way this man airs it out. He has a cannon of an arm. And like I said, I'm not going to say that he's more talented than Aaron Rodgers, but his play style is what really just gets me, man. Like when you get down in the red zone, and I know this is something that we almost knock Lamar Jackson for it in a sense. But my thing with Josh Allen, and watch the goddamn tape before anybody says anything about this. Josh Allen's arm talent is ridiculous compared to
it's premier.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So like that's not a conversation. When you talk about Josh Allen, who has all the talent in his arm that you need, then we can digress to the running ability. That's why Jalen Hurts, he's not going to be a top 10, top 15 quarterback, right? Like, because we don't factor the running ability until you have completed certain things as a passer.
Right.
And so Josh Allen has been able to do those things. But then when you get inside the 20-yard line, he's liable to run it in to the end zone from anywhere, right? Anywhere, any way. He'll run it up the middle. He'll run through your linebacker. Like this dude, the way he plays, it fires me up. And I can only imagine how the Bills fans get behind this guy and the way he plays and the fire, the passion. Just like watching him and Patrick Mahomes go at it in that game leading up to the AFC Championship, right, where it goes into overtime, last score wins, right, made them change the whole goddamn
game ever.
Right, the weirdest game, but that
greatest game ever.
Weirdest ending, I should say, is it shouldn't have ended like that, right? Yeah. It didn't seem fair, but nonetheless, watching those guys go at it, there was no way in my mind that I could leave out thinking that those are the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what stuck with me along with
even though back-to-back MVPs though.
It's more or less calculating what we're going to do coming into this season. If I was going off just pure history and leading up to this season, who's the best quarterback? Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers would be number 1 and number 2. They would have to be for me. And then probably Mahomes number 3. But that's where I stand with Josh Allen over Aaron Rodgers.
I put Rodgers here because to me, like him and Mahomes at this point are 1A, 1B. They're very similar. And he's kind of similar to what I mentioned about Brady, right? Like it's weird. I have Brady at 4, but he's the GOAT and he's still playing at a high level. Yeah. Well, Rodgers is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen, and he's still playing at the highest level on back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
So how is he not 1? He's just not 1 because I think the new kid in town came in and took over, and he might be the greatest talent I've ever seen. But Aaron Rodgers is one of my favorite players to ever watch in the history of the NFL. And in terms of pure talent, yeah, like if he's not the best, he's the second best. But Scotty, wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we agree here. Like I know the hype train on Josh Allen, and you just laid out exactly why people should be excited and impressed with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He hasn't taken the reins yet.
Yet.
Spoiler alert, everybody. He lost that game. Like the game Scotty just referenced, he lost that game to this man. Every play that Josh Allen made, which was an all-time performance by a quarterback, this dude came out and made or topped 5 seconds later. He is the most special talent in the world. And, dude, he had a down year last year.
Mm-hmm.
He turned the ball over more and more. The Chiefs started off slow. He lost Tyreek Hill this offseason. I just think, like, to me, losing Tyreek Hill is almost a blessing.
Gives him more chance.
It gives him more status because I think he's one of the guys, like in Aaron Rodgers, like a Tom Brady, that is going to make receivers around him better. Not that Juju is a slouch or Lazard or Valdez-Scantling's a slouch or whatever, and he still has Travis Kelce. But I think this year, if he puts up big numbers, which I think he's going to, and they'll have success, it says everything. And not to mention, when you look around the AFC West, what they've done all offseason to kind of dethrone him specifically, if he can come away on top, like I just think he's the best quarterback in the league, dude.
I'm with you. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. It was coming down to the stretch. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Couldn't go with Josh Allen for myself personally, just because I can't factor the situation in that much, right? I have to look at the quarterbacks to an extent. And, you know, you look at the guys on this list, and where I would side with you is that on my top 10 list, I'll say, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are the only two. Well, I won't even put Mahomes in that list. I was going to say without legit. Well, he has Travis Kelce. He has a Juju. But looking at Aaron Rodgers compared to like Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, who I left off my top 10, just to be clear, Lamar Jackson was my 10 or my 11, excuse me. And Dak Prescott was my 12. And I'm with you. I think all of those guys are in that group with Kyler, Derek Carr, blah, blah, blah. The reason I can't move guys like Dak up into the top 10 are because I don't have the belief in Dak's skill like I do for Patrick Mahomes. And ultimately, what I'm saying by putting Patrick Mahomes up there is I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes having one of the best seasons of his career without Tyreek Hill, a guy that we talked about earlier in the show, a top 5 wide receiver. And if this Chiefs team does exactly what I expect it to do and what I expect Patrick Mahomes to do, he will undoubtedly be the best quarterback in the NFL if he is not already after this season. All losing Tyreek Hill did was give him more opportunity, as you mentioned, to prove that he is the greatest in the NFL. There's no more saying, oh, he has the fastest wide receiver and the best tight end. He has the best tight end, fair. His wide receiver group, if you love Juju, come on. Juju is straight, right? He's a wide receiver 2 in my eyes, maybe a wide receiver 3, a low-end wide receiver 2. He's not Tyreek Hill.
Right.
If Patrick Mahomes comes out like he did in the preseason game, and I get it, it's preseason, but spreading the ball around to guys we don't even know their names, right? That's Patrick Mahomes, though, and you know there's just that belief in me based on his skill, you know he's going to do that, man.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. You talk about just pure talent between him and Aaron Rodgers. He's the only guy that has ever held a candle to Aaron Rodgers talent-wise in the last couple of years. So I'm with you. I think Patrick Mahomes, until somebody knocks him off that throne.
Can I say something crazy before we move on as well?
Of course.
Like,
Love crazy.
I feel like he's being slighted. Like, people have lowered expectations and have kind of moved Josh Allen or people ahead of him. Same way I feel like Russell Wilson gets slighted, but to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
Dude, this is from a tweet earlier that I saw today. This dude has 4 straight championship games, 4 straight division titles, and 4 straight 12-plus win seasons in his first 4 years as a starter, with 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 win. Like, he's already like starting his own case to be a GOAT at some point. Like, he's so early on in his career, and these are his accolades. And you just have, like, it's not just media or lists. It's like, it's Tyreek Hill coming out and saying Tua is the most accurate QB he's played with. You see the shit Sammy Watkins said today about how something basically about Rodgers, because he played with Mahomes and now he's playing with Rodgers in Green Bay, and he talked about how Rodgers is just on another level. And I'm not necessarily saying like that's a shot, but like, dudes that just stop playing with them are like I get it's standing up for your. It's not standing up because no one slighted your quarterback. You're just throwing an unnecessary jab at a dude who made you look special for the last 3-4 seasons. So it's weird to me, man. And he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder. We did our AFC West rankings, and I'm incredibly high on the Chargers, as are you, I think. And I have the Chargers winning that division, but I will not be surprised if the Chiefs. Like, the overall roster needs help, but he's that good that if they compete for that division and win it, or compete and miss it by a game and make the wild card, again, it's just another notch on his belt. That's like, dude, this is an accolade that he's accomplished. But those are our top 10 quarterbacks, guys. Very, very similar. Had a lot of guys in the same spot, flipped by one. The only difference on our list is our number 10 spot. I have Dak, you have Carr. Personally, I was this close to putting Derek Carr 10. I didn't, but we'll see how that goes. Final segment of this show, Scotty. This one won't take too long. We went over all of the divisions and broke them down. And in doing so, we talked about all the offseason subtractions and additions to those teams. So real quick, if you have a few or whatever, what were some offseason additions or subtractions you love and hate?
Yeah, I got a few, and they might be similar to you. I know you mentioned Russ earlier.
Yeah.
So as far as moves I love, I'm with you. I love the Russ to Denver move. I'll let you, if you want to dive into that. I won't spend too much time on it. The next move that I like, and just as far as the Russ move, just to say something regarding, I don't want to put it baseless out there, makes Denver an instant contender. And what that means in the AFC West, I don't know, but they're a contender nonetheless to win the championship this year. My next move that I love, San Fran, right? Moving on from Jimmy G.
Okay.
It's not that I love the idea of Trey Lance, but I love the idea of saying, God damn it, we've become so stagnant with this shit. Even if it's stagnant in the NFC Championship, we're going to try to do something that's better.
Right. And this was our ceiling.
That. I appreciate that. That was their ceiling. They went to the NFC Championship, then the Super Bowl a couple years before. They couldn't get it done with Jimmy G. It's simple as that. He became the detractor in those big games. You bring in Trey Lance, he can do a little more with his legs. We'll see. But I like the fact that they didn't remain stagnant there. And then this one is going to kill some of my Eagles fans. But I love Washington picking up Carson Wentz, man.
Oh.
I know that one can go either way. And we'll see how it plays out. But I think it's a risk-free
I think
move.
it may be I think it may be the most interesting move of the offseason because of how far one side or the other, positive or negative, this thing can go this year.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm leaning towards good. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think he'll have a decent season.
I'm with you, man. Like, you'll probably catch a lot of flack for that one if anyone gets a
think
hold of
so
that.
too,
But
but
just because it's the cool thing to do, right? It's a cool
a lot
thing
of
to
people
mock
say he
Carson
wasn't
Wentz.
good last year, and I don't believe that either. I
And
thought
that's
he was
just
good.
it was wrong. So you bring him to Washington. They have a good system in place with Ron Rivera and Terry McLaurin. They have weapons. They have a very good defense. So we'll see what he can end up doing. But it's definitely one of the more interesting moves. The one that I love more so than anything is the Russell Wilson.
I'll be
move.
right back. Give me 1
Oh,
second.
Yeah,
Keep
you're
talking.
good. Yeah. So the reason I love the Russell Wilson move so much is because I truly do believe, like George T, he's a listener of ours, and he had said that Denver is his sleeper to go to the Super Bowl. And people immediately dismissed it because of how good and tough that AFC West division is. And I completely understand that. But to just discount Denver and Russell Wilson as a whole in that division, just be like, nah, like they can't win it. They won't even make the playoffs. Like that's a little odd to me because you're shortchanging how talented and how good Russell Wilson is still at this point in his career. People get it twisted with what he did last year with the injury in Seattle and the failure that Seattle was. He's had a bottom 5 offensive line for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Their rushing attack has been absolutely abysmal in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I get he has Tyler Lockett. I get he has DK Metcalf. Their defense has been abysmal over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So Russ is just in this weird stage, and you can go back to 2019 when things started to slip off for Seattle. What they do, they came in our house, and he gave us problems. He always gives us Eagles fans problems, and he's that talented. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 8 quarterback. I think if he's on, he can be as so high as top 5 or 6 right now. And when you put him in that situation, so it's not even just what Russ brings to the table for Denver. Denver last year, although they're extremely young, is that quarterback piece away. And they didn't just go and get a Carson Wentz like Washington. They didn't just go and get like what Indy did with Matt Ryan. They went out and got an elite talent at the quarterback position. You already mentioned Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon in the backfield to ease pressure off of him. You have Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy as your 1 and 2 wide receivers. Young, youthful, speedy, possession kind of guys, right? And then that defense is already a top 10 unit. They're set up for success, man. And it all comes back to how packed that division is.
Yeah.
But Russ puts them in a conversation to be special this year. So I absolutely love that fit. Another one that I like, I know you might attack it from the opposite end of it, but I like Tyreek in Miami. Not that I like him more in Miami than in Kansas City with Mahomes. Yeah. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what Tua can do with a guy like Tyreek Hill. And you're hearing all the reports come out about how they've looked so far. And the cheetah in South Beach, like it just feels somewhat exciting. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what he brings. But outside of that, man, there's a lot of moves, but nothing that like I'm overly up or down about. Obviously, as an Eagles fan, I can list all 5 moves that I love, but I'm not going to do that. We've already talked about that enough.
Right. Yeah. Those, and obviously AJ Brown, like that move I love, like obviously, but we can't do everything.
Right. Taking somewhat of the bias out of the show.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. Tyreek Hill, I think it's a good move for Miami. I think, I love it for Miami because one, it's Tyreek Hill. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, as we mentioned several times here. But 2, you are putting everything on the table for Tua. So now you get to figure out, similar to Jalen Hurts, can Tua be the guy that takes us to the playoffs, takes us to the next level? Is he worth that, the spot that he has right now? Because if it doesn't work out this year with Tua, if we get another quarterback in here, we can make this thing go with these weapons. So I do love it for Miami in that sense. I hate it for Tyreek Hill. And I hate it for my dynasty. And I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is not going to have a good season. I think that, if Tua proves to be what he's supposed to be, then Tyreek Hill should have a pretty good season. He has a lot of guys on the opposite of him. Jalen Waddle, who's going to take some attention off of him. But I can't imagine going from playing with Patrick Mahomes, who we just called the number 1 quarterback in the NFL, to playing with Tua.
Well, now he's playing with the most accurate quarterback in the NFL.
Maybe he is after the way he was carving the Eagles today, right?
So one more before we wrap up that I like. I don't have. I mean, I guess I hate it from Green Bay's point of view. Davante Adams in Las Vegas is another one that like you mentioned. Derek Carr, he's your number 10, and he's fringe right there for me. This is a guy to take him to the next level and take Las Vegas to the next level. They were a playoff team last year. They looked the part, and Derek Carr was as clutch as they come. He had the most fourth quarter comebacks out of any quarterback in the league last year. And like you mentioned before, that was with Hunter Renfrow, who is a nice number 2, maybe a slot receiver, and a beat up Darren Waller. You bring in possibly the best wide receiver in the game, who they're already best friends and have chemistry.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So Davante Adams in Vegas is definitely exciting. And it all comes back to that division, whether it's a subtraction or an addition. That division, you can talk about J.C. Jackson, you can talk about Khalil Mack going to the Chargers. There is a lot that went on. Juju in Kansas City. A lot went on in that division, and a lot is going to be fun to watch this year. Think about how many great matchups that is going to play out. Like
I know it's gonna be crazy.
About 16 different games that year,
go head to head. And you know the crazy part
or more
with the Davante Adams deal is that the only way you look at it, and you probably hate that move, is if you're a Packers fan, because I would never, I don't know, I just would never want to see Davante Adams leave my team, period. But even for Davante Adams, this could be spun in a way that I could look at myself loving this move for Davante Adams. You get away from the GOAT. You get away from Aaron Rodgers. Once again, it's kind of what we talked about with Mahomes losing Tyreek Hill. More chance to prove yourself. If Adams goes to Las Vegas and takes Derek Carr to the next level, like you said, like I predict, that makes Adams look even better. So I'm excited for that opportunity for Adams. Just to give you the moves, and just one more thing about the Wentz thing, I forgot to mention it. That's fun for the division. And that's another reason that I love it. It wasn't just that I think he'll do well in Washington, but it's fun. We get to play, the Eagles get to play the Commanders twice a year, and we get to play Carson Wentz, who we thought was at one point our franchise quarterback. But moves that I hated. I already mentioned the Hill going from Mahomes to Tua. Titans trading A.J. Brown. I thought that was a very bad move. And I think that was my way of not going bias here and saying that I love A.J. Brown to the Eagles. I hate that move for the Tennessee Titans. You can try to throw in a Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. You can try to throw in a Robert Woods. Those two guys together don't make A.J. Brown. And that's ultimately where I stand. I think you're going to see the real Ryan Tannehill this season. You won't be able to hide by throwing it to A.J. Brown every possession and getting 100 yards from him receiving each game he plays. He's going to have to – it's going to once again go on Derrick Henry's back, and then I think we see the real Ryan Tannehill. And you think about how good A.J. Brown was to the point where you had people saying that Ryan Tannehill was an MVP candidate last season. That's how good A.J. Brown – that's how good A.J. Brown makes Ryan Tannehill look. The other move that I hate, and I think you'll side with me here, I hate what the Browns did to Baker Mayfield, and I hate that they traded for Deshaun Watson.
I hate that Amari Cooper went there. Now, especially with how the Watson thing played out. Now, again, he'll ultimately end up starting at some point. So, at the end of the day, if he's back to what he was, I get it. But Amari Cooper leaves a division winner.
Yep.
That 1,000-yard receiver. He was their number 1, probably going to be their number 2 this year. And you go there. Yeah. Weird to me, man. Another one last thing before we wrap up. The Saints, their off season. I texted you this a couple days ago. Am I sleeping on them? We can have this conversation heading into the season. Now, I'm not sleeping on them in terms of playoffs, like making noise in the playoffs, because I don't trust Jameis as far as I can throw him. However, their defense is fully loaded. Kamara is probably not getting suspended at all now this season. And I know Michael Thomas has he's sore or whatever in his hamstring, but he's looked really good, apparently. And it just like flew over my head that if he's back, you add him with Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry, who's not washed yet.
Yeah.
With a healthy and playing Kamara, the Saints had, they're not big. Landry and Olave and getting Thomas back aren't like whoa moves, but good, I think they could be really good, man. So we'll see. I'm going to try this out, Scotty. Let's see if we like some background music as we wrap up this edition.
I had one thing on the Saints before you wrap up, Dylan.
No, keep going.
Love it. All right, so with the Saints, I think another caveat to that is
got a little loud there.
The way the Bucs have kind of fallen apart throughout the training camp and preseason. Now you look at it, are they the clear runaways? Could they lose in matchups with the way their offensive line is against a team like the Saints with a great defense, against a team like the Panthers? Can
I throw a comparison in here?
Yeah, of course.
Are the Saints to the Bucs what the Eagles are to the Cowboys?
Yeah, because I think
the Bucs roster
fully side. Yeah.
Not just that, like the Saints have everything in place. Quarterback's a question mark. Eagles have everything in place. Quarterback's a question mark. Dallas has the quarterback. Rosters lost some pieces, injuries, etc. Tampa has the quarterback, obviously, but injured. Just the overall roster isn't as good.
A lot of question marks. Yeah, I'm with you. And I think even take it one step further, 2 question marks at quarterback that have a ton of potential. We've seen Jameis play some really good football in the NFL. We've seen him play some really bad football. Yeah. Same with Jalen Hurts. So these guys are big question marks. That's not necessarily a bad thing all the time. They're just a question mark is better than a detractor at this point in the season. And I'll take that going into the season. We'll see where it goes. But I'm with you on that comparison.
110%. All right, man. That is going to wrap up this edition of NFL Turf Talk. Guys, check us out, as always, on Twitter at DSM_media. This will be streaming to you guys on our YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook channels Sunday, 10 a.m. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button, share it out, comment, whatever you got to do. We appreciate the love. Check my man Scotty out at Scotty Drown. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. Have a